The way I see it, every really memorable stationery project starts with three things. When a client can tell me these three things, they're setting us up to make something really magical. Any more than these three things, and they can tie our hands and keep us from making something really spectacular. Those three things are a function, an emotion, and a design vocabulary. That might look like this. I need a business card. I wanted to make people feel like they're going to go on an adventure with me. Here's what my branding looks like. It could be, we need to invite someone to our wedding. We want them to feel really excited and also a little bit jealous, and we're having an industrial theme. Or maybe it's, we want something that gets high-performing students to visit our university. We want them to be thrilled when they open it, and we want it to have a golden ticket theme. That is what this video is about. So did you catch that project I was talking about with my alma mater? You know, the one I had an in-person meeting for, something I don't normally have. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you like look and wave.
Yeah, look and wave. Hi, everybody. Here, we'll do a whole room tour thing. We'll go, hey.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. We're having a meeting. I'm working on that right now. This is for a different project, but I'm trying to get this one finished so I can free up a press to start production on that project. Okay, so the weekend didn't quite go as planned, but can you see me? But I did get one business card done and kind of paved the way to take care of this big project that I was talking about. With this business card, I had to do something that occasionally I'll run into, and that's called skip feeding. It's something you can do to increase the ink density when you print. You know, I'm doing silver on gray here, and in some light it shows up beautifully. In other light, it can be a little low contrast, and so I wanted to get as much density of ink as I could. So I would coordinate suction to feed the press and the impression so that I'd only print every second cycle. That means that the rollers were gathering ink twice before they'd hit the paper, and it worked pretty well. Okay, so now it's time to actually tell you a little bit about this project. Like I said, this is the project that I went and met with some staff from my alma mater a couple weeks ago. We're putting together golden tickets that they're handing out to high school students for a trip back to Florida so they can come visit the school. Okay, wasn't anything too bad. They're gone. These high school guidance counselors are going to hand out golden tickets for an all expenses paid trip to Central Florida to come visit the school, check out Central Florida, and just have a really incredible experience and hopefully come to school there. So as I was leaving that meeting, I told you this really is kind of ideal. It was a chance to really explore with the client what was going to create the highest impact. We talked about things like the environment these students would be opening these in and who would be around them and what their emotions were, because you know these kids are going to get called to the guidance counselor's office and they might be nervous, they might not have any clue what's going on. So we wanted to make sure that we made it as kind of fumble proof as possible, something that was solid in their hands, that they weren't going to drop or that they weren't going to have to work through too much to experience. We wanted to have that kind of Charlie Bucket golden ticket moment, but we didn't want to make it so involved that it kind of created a space for confusion or frustration. So I've got a golden ticket to print, and then I've got an envelope to create. I've already printed the insides of the envelope digitally. The envelopes are duplex, so I need to glue those up, and then I'll print the golden ticket while those are curing, and then we'll cut the envelopes after that. So here's the dies that we're using for this project. This is going to go on the outside of the envelope. I'm trying to remember what they call this. Is a lockup of the logo. This Southeastern University is the name of the school. A little private school in Lakeland, Florida, right here where I am. And shoot, I can't remember what they call this, but it's kind of a fairly traditional lockup. It's not very different than when I was there. But they do a lot of other stuff. They do a lot of different things with their logo now too. But this is the actual golden ticket die. So the golden ticket's going on a pretty thick cover stock of our Star Dream gold paper, and then I printed the digital insides. Those were on a thin version of Star Dream. So these are going to get glued to the black. The logo is going to get printed on the outside. Well, actually, we're going to die cut first, and then we'll foil stamp the logo on the outside. And that's the gold foil that we're going to use. You know, we were looking for something that was a matte on, kind of like a matte on matte gold, just a little bit of textural difference, a little bit of shade difference, enough that that when these students open these golden tickets, they are just kind of bombarded with like opulent gold. You know, the whole thing's wrapped in black, and we want it to really shine when they open it. Just enough to hold it in place for now. I had a big boo-boo. Yeah. This piece comes off, and I need to, I broke the bolt back here. In theory, it's all unbolted. I need to pick it up, move it over there face down. Well, you know what they say about Murphy and his law and all that crap. Obviously it's inevitable that something has to go wrong while I'm doing this kind of work. Today it was this. This is called the platen bolt, and it snapped. You can see that from the light gray areas, this thing was hanging on, pardon the pun, by a thread for a long time. I never noticed it. Granted, I've only had this press for a few weeks, operational really. But this this bolt has been pretty worn down for a while. It stops me dead in my tracks with the foil press. But the good news is there was a spare in the box that came with the press. So I am taking this opportunity to clean up some parts of the press that I literally can never see because this platen's in the way, and a chance to re-grease all the bolts, get everything locked down tight, and hopefully it won't take me too long to get this adjusted and back up and running once all this is done. Well, Murphy hit me pretty hard today. I actually broke another bolt and couldn't get everything dialed in right where I wanted it. So I went ahead and glued up the rest of these envelopes, and I'm going to switch over to die cutting first thing in the morning. It's the end of the day. So I'm going to use the dies. I'm going to use some old dies to help level this platen for die cutting, because I think that is probably, with a die jacket, that's the furthest down it needs to be. And I can always adjust further up by packing paper in there, but I can't make more space without pulling out the wrenches. So I think if I can get that level, get that nice and clean, then I can pack for die cutting jobs, hopefully without having to fiddle with the platen bolts too much anymore. But both of the bolts that broke had hairline cracks in them. One actually was cracked over halfway through. The other one had a pretty substantial hairline crack. It was going to happen sooner or later, but it does make it a little frustrating. deliver these to the client, they've got some handwork to do too. They're going to do the wax seals and number each one of these. But here we go.
Okay, that'd be perfect. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Really happy. Yeah.
You did it.
Well, that went incredibly well. This is really the kind of project that I love doing projects like this where I get to really guide a client through what is going to give them the most impact and what's going to kind of meet their goals as good as we possibly can with stationery. And the really cool thing is we're sitting there looking at it, and their office is all fluorescent lights. It's really kind of cold and blue really, and the paper actually almost looked yellow in the office. So we stepped out on the balcony and got to experience it kind of with the near sunset. Super gold, and the tone on tone was pretty awesome. So man, I'm so excited. I can't wait for these to get in people's hands. I can't wait to see, man, I wish I could see student reactions to this. See how these high school kids respond when they get one of these. It's gonna be awesome. For this project, my client has a team of graphic designers, so I didn't have to worry about that and could really focus on what the effect of this piece would be on the people who got it. I mean, this is a really big deal. These students will be called to their guidance counselor's office. Do you remember what that feels like to get called to the office? There's all sorts of butterflies and nerves associated with that. So they get called to the guidance counselor's office and they get handed one of these. And together with the team at the university, we thought a lot about what the experience of opening this would feel like. We wanted to make sure that we had the wax seal so that there was this sense of ceremony in opening it. We had tossed around the idea of actually putting a golden ticket in a chocolate bar, but the reality is these guidance counselors are meeting here at the university in Central Florida and then traveling back to their schools. Chocolate might not travel very well, so we brought it back to this idea of kind of a self-enclosed envelope kind of thing. And so in adding the wax seal, it creates this extra layer and moment of anticipation. You have to actually break the seal to see what's inside. And all you really know, most of these students probably have no idea what this flame represents, but there's a decent chance that this name sounds familiar. So we wanted to keep it as minimal and clean as possible while still giving them some hint as to what was inside. As for that, we really wanted to make a high impact of gold on gold on gold. We wanted to create the most drama possible when the students open this. So the classic crest epic black on the outside is a little understated, and we wanted it to pop gold. I mean, I wanted it to shine on their faces, the reflective gold when they opened it. So we did this. So this nice matte gold on the gold paper creates a beautiful tone on tone. In some lights, you can barely tell the difference other than the sheen. In other lights like this, there's a pretty big difference there. But we wanted to one-up it. So instead of leaving the envelope black on the inside, we used that same sheet so that as soon as they opened it and opened these petals, they were just inundated with a bit of opulence and a ton of gold. So the whole thing is gold on gold on gold, except for a little bit of the inside. To be honest, we went back and forth on this quite a bit. The idea of having nothing but gold when a student opened this was really appealing, and I think there would be a ton of impact in that. But the reality is this thing has a function too. Remember, it's got to function in some way, create some sort of emotion, and have some sort of vocabulary to go with it. So because function is our top priority, we went with digital black printing on the end. That way there's a little bit of a reveal when they pull the golden ticket away and some instructions about what to do with it. Now, this is the beginning of an all expense paid trip to Central Florida for a high school student and one of their guardians. And I'm hoping that for each of these students, this is an incredible, epic way to start that journey. Honestly, the only thing that bums me out is I don't get to see their faces when they open these things.